Come on. Move it! Could you be any slower?
What is up, guys? Candace B here. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. Welcome back to my subscribers and welcome to my new ones. How has your week been? How has your mental health been? I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I am going to be doing my weekly analysis, but I'm going to be focusing on the higher time frames. A lot of things are happening in the world, which of course is affecting the foreign exchange market. And so as a status quo rule of thumb, the higher time frames tend to give a better idea of where price might want to go. For me personally, I'm going to be focusing more so on the higher time frames for this week to come, just because there are quite a few news events, you know, some talks in the EU, and there's Brexit, and Trump's going crazy as usual. So a lot of things that the lower time frames might look a bit scary on. So yeah, that's why I want to focus more on the higher time frames. And as a disclaimer, of course, the way I analyze my charts is just simply how I personally do it. It's just from my point of view, my opinions. The fact that I am analyzing on the higher time frames and choosing to focus more on the higher time frames this week is just simply from my own comfort level. It's just what I am choosing to do. So to each their own. I of course always encourage you to do your own analysis, find your own comfort levels, and just do whatever you need to do to be the best trader that you can be. But that being said, let us get right into the analysis. Okay, so I'm going to be analyzing GBPJPY, of course, as well as EURJPY, and these are two pairs that of course are going to be highly impacted by Brexit. They have been, so this is definitely a fine line that I'll be walking this week. With all of the speeches and kind of last minute news events that are coming up, I will definitely be taking my time and not rushing myself into the market this week. But of course, I still want to analyze and see what's going on just so I can be prepared if an opportunity presents itself. So let's start with GBPJPY. We are on the monthly, and the reason why I'm on the monthly right now is just because I want to see what the first few days of October have been looking like. It looks like it did make a low. We don't know if that is the confirmed low for the month, but it did make a low, and now it has been pushing up. It hasn't really filled this previous wick from the last month, but it might not, you never know. So what I kind of want to see right now is where price opened in October, where it made its low for now, and the high where it is right now, just so I can kind of get an idea of the structure when I go down to the lower time frames. But to my eyes, it looks like it's still in this lower high, lower low structure, so we'll see what the weekly says. So when I'm looking on the weekly and I zoom in, so because the first week of October was kind of mixed in with the last week of September, that's why this candle says it starts September 28th. But when I go down to the daily, I'll be able to see better. But I see that we created this doji, of course, and we've been rallying up ever since. And I see that this past week has filled the wick of the week prior, which usually price will do in momentum. It will fill a wick. So on the weekly, that's exactly what it did, and it pushed up. And price right now is at an area, it closed in an area where there is probably a zone. As you can see, this has been tapped, this has been tapped, and then now it's back at this area. So we'll see if price is going to be breaking above. I know there's going to be a lot of fundamental influence this coming week, so you know, a lot of things can happen. Price can push up strongly, price can pull back strongly. We don't know yet, but on the weekly there is a higher low, higher high structure, as opposed to on the monthly where it shows lower highs, lower lows. The weekly is in this higher low, higher high structure. So there is some conflicting detail with that, but let's go to the daily. All right, so yes, this would have been, so October 1st is when October started, obviously. So October 2nd is when price made this low where it is right now. And it looks like once it made that low, it pushed up, it retraced, it went up to the area where price currently is, kind of went in that range and pulled back strongly before pushing back up. So that being said, it looks like price is actually pushing up. If we look at this structure here, we see that there were lower highs, lower lows on the daily, and then we see that with this area, price broke above this structure here, and it pulled back, and then it pushed up, and then starts kind of rallying up. So it looks like, I don't know if someone would call this a reverse or an inverse head and shoulders, I don't know, but it kind of does look like that, where like this is the head, these are the shoulders. But yes, all I can see personally is that structure has been broken. Previous lower low structure has been broken, and now we're making higher lows, higher highs. I do also see that there is a zone where price previously pushed down strongly at the beginning of September, so exactly a month ago, when price got to this area where it's not at yet, but when price had gotten that area before, it pushed down very strongly. So I'm curious to see if this coming week with momentum, let's say that there is some good news about Brexit and GBP, and you know, everyone is optimistic about it, then we might see that push up here to fill that area where price previously was before, you know, it drops. So for me, what I would be looking for is if price does push up to this area, I might be looking to sell here, depending on, you know, how fast price gets to this area. If it does, if for whatever reason there is so much momentum that price breaks above this area, I would be looking for a pullback, a retest, so that a level is created, and then we'd be looking to push up with some buys. But I'm gonna go down to the H4 time frame just to see in a bit more detail. But right now my bias looks to be buys, but again, we don't know. Brexit is a wild one. So let me just erase some of these lines just to keep it nice and clear. So I know before I was mentioning this no man's land zone, which was right here. So it looks like what happened was that we had the no man's land, price was consolidating. Every time it got to this area, it just consolidate, but it finally did break out of it. Even though it did come back down to retest it, it did end up closing above it. And since then it's been rallying up. So we are above this no man's land zone. So another confluence of a, you know, bullish intention. If I go down, I can also see that we are still in this channel here, a bullish channel. So another confluence of bullish momentum, or another confluence for buys. We are still in this area where if you look, price has just been bouncing off of the tops and bottoms of this channel. And in addition to it being in this upward channel and still respecting the upward channel, we have a break and a retest of this huge consolidation area, a very important consolidation area. So for price to have been able to break above and have that strength to break above and now be rallying up, that to me is confluence for buys. And then we also have the confluence that there is a zone that price may be wanting to get to just to get some premium price. So we can see that, you know, there may be a chance that there will be buys, and that's about 60 pips. So that is a really good range to be looking to fill. Let me just erase some of these things. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about buys, but again, all it takes is one news event for, you know, price just to break completely down. So if that's the case, we want to be prepared for it. So another thing that I'm noticing as another confluence is that we had this area where price made the same high. So as you can see, if we kind of talk it out and draw it out, we have a higher low, we have a higher high, we have a higher low, and then we have a same high, but then we have another higher low. So once price had the momentum, it did break above. So the fact that that happened, we are still in this kind of bullish, the bulls are still in the market. And because of the fact that price did close above this area where it made the same high, where it kind of hit twice, because sometimes, you know, you see a double top, let's say, and then you are assuming price is just going to drop. But in this case, price was able to break out. I don't see that it has retested this area yet. So what I would probably be looking for before that push up would be a retest of this area. This would be a really, you know, decent area in my opinion to get in on some buys, put, you know, the stop loss underneath, and then we can just intend for the take profit to be up here. So that's one setup that I'd be looking for. but I would want to see a retest first. If I don't see that retest, if price just opens and with news or whatever the case may be with technicals, price just pushes right up to this area here, then what I would be looking for is to see if it sustains that level. If it cannot break that level, I'd be looking for sells with my stop loss above the zone, and then just kind of that push down with my take profit being here for that retest, because price can possibly come up and retest it in this way, as opposed to what I was saying before, just like a small retest here. The reason why this is a possibility though is because if I'm looking here, I see that there was a candle that where price had pulled up and then dropped. So we're right at that area. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there was a smaller pullback, but I would not be surprised as well if we saw a push up first and then a pullback. Yeah, so we'll see, price can do anything it wants to do. If price ends up just not being able to break above this area, and then it ends up just pulling completely back down to this zone / the bottom of the channel, I would have to wait to see if, again, it is both respected, because it's kind of double the confluence, and then see if there are buys just based on the candlesticks being formed. So with the H4, I always say I like the H4 just because I personally trust the H4 candlesticks more than, let's say, I would trust a 15-minute candlestick. So if I'm seeing a bullish candle here and it closes in this zone, then I have more confidence to take buys, as opposed to if I were to see that on the 15-minute chart. So yeah, that's just me though. And then of course, if everything just goes crazy, it goes right back in the zone, I will just wait to see what happens. If price breaks below, you wait for that retest and yada yada. So mind you, this might not all happen in 1 week. This might not all happen this week, but it's better just to kind of over prepare than to be under prepared and then not know what happens. But for me, I like to be able to get a visual, and then if I see my setup, then boom, we get to it, get in. So let's go to the 1 hour. This is the lowest time frame I'm going to go to, but it pretty much is just kind of confirming what I was saying with the whole, this being broken out. But I don't see that it didn't really retest, in my opinion. We see the multiple attempts for price to try to break above this area, and then it finally did, but we have yet to see a confirmed pullback. So once that happens, that's when I would be more interested in buys. But yeah, let's go to EJ and see what's happening on there. But that's pretty much what I'm looking at on GJ. All right, so we are on EJ on the monthly. I haven't looked at the monthly in a while on EJ, but as we can see right away, I'll just kind of show you guys what I see just right off the back, and then I'll explain. So this is what I see. So right away, my eyes caught this. Sorry, my trend line's not the best, but I see that there was this bearish rally, and it was respecting the trend line for quite a while, since 2018, okay? So we had this bearish rally. So for me, when I'm looking at this, I see, lower highs, lower lows. I see a lower low, a lower high, but not a lower low. So what looks to have happened is that a double bottom was formed. And after this double bottom was formed, I see that price came back to this key level where it had tapped in the most recent past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And this is just in the most recent years. And price was able to break above and come back and retest, and now it's pulling up. So the fact that price broke up and retested it, that's exactly what we look for, a break and a retest. Then that gives me that confluence that price might be moving up, in addition to the double bottom being formed, in addition to this trend line, this bearish trend line being broken as well. So that's 3 confirmations just from the monthly. So I'm gonna go down to the weekly and see. Everything looks crazy, so let me just delete all of this. Let's not confuse nobody. All right, so when I'm down on the weekly time frame, I just see more of that confirmation that we are in an uptrend, because we now see higher lows, higher highs being formed, and it's continuing. So we see that here price failed to continue down when it got to this area, even though it closed below this area. That next candle, which was the end of September, beginning of October, it broke up and it closed just above. And then this past week was just straight bulls in the market. So the euro has a lot of strength. The bulls are definitely in the market when it comes to that. And another thing that I noticed is that price was able to close above this area, where previously when it got to here, it dropped very strongly. But in this case, even though it did get to this area 2 weeks ago and then kind of pull back, last week it was finally able to close above. So another confluence of bullish momentum, bullish intentions, going down to the daily. So with the daily, I do see kind of a resistance area. I see that price tried 3 times to break above this area until it just couldn't, and it broke back down. But we see that it sustained this area. Let me just delete this and I'll move this down. So it sustained this area here, as you can see, and it's been making those higher lows, higher highs ever since. Right now it's in this area. So this is kind of the range that I see that price can kind of be in if, you know, it's bullish. This is a pretty big range to fill. Again, not saying that it'll all happen in 1 week, but this is what I'll be looking at for buys. If price is in this area, I would be more so looking for buys. I wouldn't be looking for sells unless price ended up closing below this area, pushing down, closing below, and then, you know, this would be the range that I would be looking at instead. But for now, because it's in this area, depending on fundamentals, what happens with, you know, financially with the euro and whatnot and Brexit, we might see some bullish push to the upside or a bearish push to the downside. Who knows? But it does seem like there was already a retest. I'll go down to the 4-hour to see, because I think there was already a retest of this zone. Yeah, so as we can see on the H4, there is clearer structure in terms of the higher lows, higher highs being formed. But I also see now that I'm on the H4, there's this area, and that's just me. By me looking left, I see this is an area where price really pushed down from, and it hasn't been able to close above this area just yet. So there is a chance that, you know, price might not be ready. We might see a pull back down to this higher zone and then possibly a push up and then kind of go from there, or we might see just failure completely and then just kind of that push down. But either way, where I would be looking to enter, let's say, buys, is if price does push down here. If it can sustain this level, then stop loss under here. Take profit would be just right back at this area. Depending on momentum, I might see an opportunity just to trail my stop and scale out, you know, continuing up, but we'll see if price is able to make another higher low. But if anything, if price ends up sustaining this area and then pushing up, then I would just be waiting for that pullback as usual, just to retest this zone, taking buys with stop loss under here, or whatever the case may be. And like I was saying before, for any sells, I would have to see price closing below this zone and retesting it, and then going down here with take profit being around this area just based on looking left, and then my stop loss being above this zone. So yeah, pretty much this is why I'm focusing on the higher time frames, really just because the structure looks a lot better for me in both GJ and EJ. And if I go down to the 1 hour just as a final thing, it's kind of just showing the same stuff. Right here, it's just showing, yeah, it's just kind of showing the same thing. So I really want to wait and see what happens here. This coming week might have to wait, you know, not trading Sunday, might not trade Monday, might have to just wait till Tuesday to really see that momentum come in. If that's the case, if it does end up wanting to continue up and kind of respecting this kind of trend line here, kind of see it's in like its own little mini channel. If it respects this channel and is able to push up, then cool. Might want to wait for that pullback, like I said, because in that respects this bottom channel, and then it goes up. So yeah, just a bunch of different possibilities this week. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'll be looking for both GJ and EJ. Patience is always the key for me personally, and I encourage you guys to be patient as well, just because that's what Forex is, trading in this market. It requires a lot of patience. So I wish you all a happy trading week. I hope you have a successful one. If you're not trading, that's still just as good. You know, if you're working on your psychology, I wish you all the best. Keep pushing forward. If you enjoyed this video, you found it helpful in any way, please let me know by smashing that like button. I always appreciate it. And also comment down below, let me know what currency pairs you are looking to trade, or if you're gonna sit out this week, let me know. And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe so you know when I post another video. And in the meantime, feel free to check out any of my other videos on this channel and my other channel. But I hope you guys continue to stay healthy and safe, and I hope you have a splendiferous day, week, and life. Bye!